Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Set More Without Dialing More, with MAPS coach Anna Kruger. Please note this webinar is being recorded and you will automatically receive the webinar recording. If you have any questions for your coach, please type them into the questions box located in your webinar taskbar. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That's FASTTRACK @kw.com. That's all for me, Anna. Take it away.
All right, thanks, Carlos. I really appreciate it. So, hey, everybody, nice to see you. We have a lot of people on this webinar, and I love to know the audience. So, I would really value you typing into the questions box. I'll see your name, so tell me where you're from and what your position is. So, maybe you're an agent, maybe you're an inside sales agent, maybe you're the rainmaker. I would love to know who is out there. So, your location and your position would be excellent. All right, awesome. So while we do that, I'd also love to hear what you want to learn today. So my plan is in the next 30 minutes or less, I'm going to give you 3 tips to increase your conversion. So I am an inside sales agent. I have been one since 2006. Don't try to figure out how old I am. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I've been an inside sales agent now for 14 years. So I have about 26,000 hours of experience as an inside sales agent or a leading inside sales agent, coaching them. And I've learned quite a few things about how to be more strategic. So I'm a huge fan of if you can be more efficient, not have to work as hard to make more money, let's do it, right? So that's really what today's webinar is for. How can you actually have more people show up? How can you have more closings, yet do it in less contacts? So I do want to preface this by saying I'm a huge fan of contacts, right? We don't set appointments, we don't have clients unless we first contact them. So I'm not saying that contacts don't matter. And there are certainly times that it makes good strategic sense to increase contacts. For example, I know from coaching people through MAPS that when COVID first hit back in March and April, I saw people, they had to 2.4 times their number of contacts to set an appointment to compensate for all of the uncertainty and things going on because of COVID. So in that setting, it makes sense that we would need to increase contacts. Yet, I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I started noticing that it was almost like anytime that we weren't having all the clients we wanted to have, really the only message was more contacts, more contacts, more contacts. And I sat there and thought, well, it makes a lot more strategic sense to increase skill. So the first thing I want you to write down is there's 2 things you can do to have more clients. And one is simply, number 1, more contacts. That's number 1. Just talk to more people. If you talk to more people, even if you don't improve your skill in any way, shape, or form, if you just simply talk to more people, you will have more clients, guaranteed. So that's number 1. Number 2 is what we're going to focus on today, which is increase your skill. So I believe we have 2 currencies, time and money, right? And so as a result of today's webinar, I'm going to give you the gift of more time or more money or both. So I know some clients that we coach in the group program, some of them say, I would actually be thrilled to take home the same amount of money I did last year, yet work a lot less hours. Maybe I work 60, 70 hours a week, and I want to work 40 hours a week and make the same amount of money. How can I do that? So that's one way that increasing your conversion will help you. Or you could say, I'm going to work the same amount of hours and I want to rake in a lot more money for the time. So that's where increasing your skill will help you with both of those things. So today we're going to talk about 3 things that you can do to increase the amount of clients without increasing your number of contacts. This is recorded. You will have an option to get the playback. So I am going to move pretty quickly. You're going to want to write down what I'm saying. And if you don't catch it all, don't worry. You'll be able to get the playback so you can watch this and grab anything that you miss. So the first thing that you can do to have more closings without having more contacts is to really get good at digging deep on motivation. Motivation, motivation, motivation. So I want to ask you, how many, like in your mind, what is motivation? And I'm asking this because there's a broad range of opinions, right? Some people say motivation is time frame. So motivation is, I want to move in 3 months. Some people say motivation is the reason somebody wants to move. I've heard all kinds of things. So let's make sure we're all on the same page. how do you identify, or how do you define motivation? Go ahead and type that in. And I'm reading all the comments. We have a lot of people in here today. We have a lot of agents and a good mixture of ISAs. Awesome. So how do you personally define motivation? Can you guys hear me? Because someone said I can't hear you, but I think it might be on their end. Yeah, so I like this response. What is prompting the desire to make a move? So I personally define motivation as the reason. What's the reason this person is moving? So motivation, for the purpose of today's webinar, is not, I want to move in the next 3 months. In my mind, motivation is, why do you want to move in the next 3 months, right? So is it going to be a better school district? Is it so you can get them in a better school district so the kids can pay for a scholarship or get a scholarship? Maybe it's to be closer to your parents so that you have help with childcare and can save money. That's what I mean when I say motivation. So here's the thing is, I think a lot of you have probably had exposure to training on how to dig for motivation. If you haven't, we cover that a lot in the group program. I'm not going to go deep on it today. Yet I want to address a gap that I have seen. So part of what I do as a coach is I listen to recorded calls from clients and then I provide feedback. And one thing I've noticed is a lot of people are actually pretty good at getting the motivation on the front end, and then they never bring it up again. Anybody resonating with this? I won't call your name out yet. Type in if you say, yeah, I get motivation, and then now that I think about it, I don't really know that I bring it back up beyond the initial conversation. Yeah, and we've got quite a few people. In fact, everyone that has typed in so far say, yes, that's me. I've had no one saying, yep, I'm good at it. Yeah, a lot of you are saying that you do that. So step number 1 to having more clients is to bring up motivation. So let me give you an example of how you would do it. So say, Stephanie, say that I'm setting an appointment with you. Let's just be honest. The stuff we cover in an appointment is not the most exciting, right? I can say that. I mean, we're all realtors, right? I'm a realtor. I love real estate. Yet it's not overly exciting to get together and talk about paperwork, right? It's not overly exciting to get together and talk about loans and listing your house and staging your house, right? For a lot of people, that's very overwhelming. So I compare it to if I had ACL surgery a couple years ago. I tore my ACL at the gym doing planks. Somehow I tore my ACL. And if I went to the surgeon and he said, you know, how quickly do you want me to cut your knee open and fix your meniscus and your ACL? It's going to be really, really painful. We're going to do all these things that I won't say on the webinar, so don't gross people out. But we're going to do this surgery. It's going to hurt. It's going to be a long recovery. You're going to have steel rod thing on your knee for a long time. How soon do you want to do that? I would say never, right? Like, I do not want to do that. Yet what I remember the surgeon doing was saying, what activities do you want to get back to? And I talked about basketball. I talked about hiking. I talked about being able to, you know, ride the bike. I love to kayak. I want to go kayaking. So when he talked to me about surgery, he didn't talk to me about the mechanics of surgery. He talked to me about what I would get because of the surgery. And that's where I think we need to get better as real estate agents or inside sales agents. Is it's not let's get together and do paperwork or get together and talk about loans or get together and set up your search. What it should be instead is let's get together and set up your search so that you can have a home closer to your family, so you have childcare and can save a lot of money. That's really why we're meeting. It's the motivation is why we're meeting. So let me see real quick if we have any questions coming in. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here a little bit. I just taught the ISA webinar and I got really excited and now I'm losing my voice. So that's why I'm not sick. I'm excited is what it is. Yeah, a lot of you are saying, I see emotional attachment. Yeah, exactly. So number 1, the first way to have more clients without having more contacts is bring up their emotion as much as possible. So say that you're talking to someone and you identify they need to talk to a lender and see if they're pre-approved. It would sound something like, hey, Gina, your next step in order to be able to buy a new home so you can build equity and be debt-free by the time you're 60, your next step to make that happen is to call the lender and find out what you're pre-approved for. How soon can you do that? Okay. So every step along the way, remind them of their personal motivation, which means you have to get it, right? So today, I'm not going over how to get the motivation. I think a lot of you probably have had training on that. If not, we talk about that a lot in the Mastering Inside Sales class, which we'll share with you at the end of this webinar today. So that's step number one, is get motivation and then bring it up as much as possible. Any questions on that one before we move on to number two? Now, number two, while you guys type in, number two is 3 things that you're going to say. So get your pens ready so you can write them down. All right, looks like you guys are good. Hold on, I'm going to take a drink. Okay. All right. So number two, number one, bring up motivation. Number two, when you go to set the appointment, you're going to tell them that there are 3 things that are going to happen. And I'm going to say it a few times so that you can write it down. And I'm going to talk to you as if you are the client. Now, real quick, what I'm about to do, the 3-step thing I'm about to do, when I used this as an ISA, I had an 80% show ratio. So 8 out of 10 people actually showed up. I'm curious for you, what is your current show ratio? Type it in the box. I see most people when they come into coaching, they're at about 40 to 50%. Kind of depends on your training. But I commonly see 40 to 50% set to show ratio. So I set the appointment, 40% of them actually show up, which think about that opportunity, right? You're already setting them. Let's just set them better so that you're doing no extra work and they actually show up. So yeah, the highest I've seen come in is 60. I see a 55, a 45. Yeah, so that's actually pretty normal when you're not in coaching. That is a pretty normal show ratio. So that's where we're saying, what if we could get that up to 80? So using what I'm about to give you, I had an 80% show ratio. The signing ratio, which meant they hired us and they signed on the line, yes, you are my agent, was 90% on the seller side, 95% on the buyer side consistently. So again, 80% show ratio, and then a 90 to 95% signing ratio, meaning they hired us. So again, what if you could do that and not have to talk to any extra clients? Makes a lot of sense, right? So here's the 3 things. So I might say, hey, Jonathan, when we get together, we're going to do 3 things. So again, just jot this down. When we get together, we're going to do 3 things. Number 1, we will go back over your motivation and price. Number 1, we will go back over your motivation and your price. Now, pause real quick. If you were an ISA setting for someone else, you might say, you know, agent and you will go back over your motivation and pricing. So I might say you're going to meet with Haro. He's fantastic. The first thing you'll do when you meet him is go back over your motivation and pricing. So some of you are agents, some of you are ISA, so just kind of tweak that. So number 1, when we get together, we're going to do 3 things. Number 1, we're going to go back over your motivation and price. Number 2, we will interview each other to make sure it is a mutually good fit. So number 2, we will interview each other to make sure it is a mutually good fit. Now, let me ask you guys real quick before I give you the third thing. Why do you think that works? I'm telling the client, we're going to interview each other to make sure it is a mutually good fit. Why do you think that increases show ratio as well as signing ratio? It helps both of those things. I want to hear from you. Yeah, so Ashley said clients want to put their best foot forward. Sylvia says we're setting correct expectations. Maybe they want to price too high. It creates a win-win. Yeah, personality. Exactly. Yeah. What I found, yes, I like what Lance said. It shows you're not desperate. What I found is when I said we're going to interview each other, it was almost like a soft takeaway because I wasn't saying we want to work with you. We want to work with you. We're going to do everything that we can to work with you. It was more of a position of professionalism, right? Hey, we're going to get together. We're going to go back over motivation and pricing, and then we're going to interview each other to make sure it is a mutually good fit. Yeah. And I'm just reading here. A lot of you guys are commenting. Yeah. Same type of stuff. It creates a win-win and make sure it's a good fit. Exactly. So I'm going to interject real quick with a true story. There was a lady once that I was talking to. She was an expired listing. She was not happy with realtors. And she was really like, you're going to do whatever I ask you to do, Miss Realtor. Like, I'm the boss. And I said to her, I said, you know, we don't work with everybody that wants to work with us. We interview you as well to make sure it's a mutually good fit. And I said this actually at her house. I went to preview the house. No joke, you guys. She was very like, I'm the boss. You are going to do whatever I ask you to do because you're the realtor and I'm in charge. The moment I said, we're here to interview you, just like you're here to interview us, because we don't take on every house that wants to get listed with us. We interview you. She at that moment said, her whole face changed. And she said, I have coffee and I baked cookies. Would you like any? And her whole demeanor changed. And it was actually very comical, but it was that psychology of I'm not desperate, right? And I choose who I work with, and I don't work with everyone. There's an ideal client, and you may or may not be it. So the way that you say it, excuse me, is number one, we're going to go back over motivation and pricing, and then number two, we're going to interview each other to make sure it's a mutually good fit. So that's number two. All right, the third thing that you say is, assuming everything looks good, we will sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? And you're going to do it with a downswing. If I say any questions, it doesn't sound as confident, right? So let me say it again. I'll say it twice so you can write it down. The third thing we'll do, if everything looks good, or excuse me, assuming everything looks good, we will sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? Just like that. So assuming everything looks good, we will sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? Everybody got it? And remember, this is recorded, so you can come back and catch it again. So now let me put those three together. So if I'm talking to a buyer or a seller, it's going to sound the same, and I'm going to set the appointment. I've already pre-qualified them. I've got their motivation, all the things, right? And now I'm just about to set the time. I'm going to say, okay, Stephanie, the next step is for us to get together, and we will do three things. Number one, we're going to go back over your motivation and pricing. Number two, we'll interview each other to make sure we're a mutually good fit. And then number three, assuming everything looks good, we will sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? Just like that. What I found, guys, is for myself and people I coach, usually if you say it with confidence, it reduces objections, right? So if you say it like, I'm going to try to do it the wrong way. It's hard to do because I'm so used to training the right way. If you say, okay, we're going to interview each other to make sure we're a good fit, and then assuming everything looks good, we'll sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? Gosh, that's hard to do. Yet it doesn't sound nearly as confident, right? So because my demeanor is uncertain, it can actually create objections. Yeah, I'm sure all of you can think of someone that you've interacted with. You don't know them. You don't know much about what they're talking about, but they were so confident. You were just like, I guess what they're saying is right. In fact, maybe that's happening on this webinar. We might not know each other, and I know this works. So I'm speaking confidently, and you're probably listening, taking notes, because it's how we talk about it. So just know when you are interacting with clients, it's got to be number one, interview each other. Sorry, number one, go back over motivation and price. Number two, interview each other, make sure it's a good fit. Number three, assuming everything looks good, sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? Now, quick comment. My purpose of saying this on the phone when setting the appointment is not to convince them to sign. So if they have questions, I'm not necessarily going to try to fix those things on the phone. What I'm doing is I'm trying to poke them a little bit so that I can dig up any objections I might face so that the agent, or if you are setting your own appointment, you know what you're walking into. So maybe this person says, well, you know, I'm not going to sign when we meet because I'm the type of person I like to talk it over with my spouse. Well, let me ask you guys, if you know before the appointment that this is someone that admitted, I like to talk things over with my spouse before I sign things, what could you do to get that signature in the appointment? I'm not going to fix it on the phone because I'm not with them in person. I can fix this better when I'm actually with them in person. Yet, what could you do to make sure that you get the signature before you walk out the door? Yeah, so one person said make sure the spouse is there at the appointment. Absolutely. A lot of you are typing in make sure the spouse is there. reading. Can I give you guys a tip? No one has typed in. I have a tip. So maybe they want to talk to the spouse first. And if someone says on the phone, when I'm setting the appointment, oh yeah, I'm not going to sign anything in person. I'm the kind of person I like to think things over. One, I already know the spouse needs to be there. I should already know that before this point anyway. Yeah, I'm going to know in this meeting, after I present everything, I'm going to create an opportunity for me to leave the meeting for about 10 minutes. So maybe I'm going to say, you know what, Carlos, I know that you like to think things over and talk it over with your spouse. So what I'm going to do, I have a phone call I need to make. I'm going to run out to my car. It should take me 10 or 15 minutes. While I'm doing that, that'll give you space to talk it over with your husband without me around. And then I'll come back and we can see what questions you have, or we'll go ahead and move forward. Now I know to create that opportunity, because when I set the appointment, I created a chance for them to tell me what would need to happen for them to move forward. Because I said, any questions? When we, assuming everything looks good, we'll sign paperwork. Any questions? And when they gave me their questions, they basically told me what I need to do to get the signature at the meeting, or the agent needs to do. All right, a lot of you are typing in, you love that. Oh, Jenny wants to write down, okay, let me say it again. It might not be the same exact wording. Something to the effect of, I know you mentioned you like to talk things over, so I'm gonna go make a phone call in my car, and I'll be back in about 10, 15 minutes, and that'll give you guys a chance to talk things over. It's not, I actually would encourage you, don't make that super scripted. Make it according to the conversation, okay? I used to do this a lot. I used to say, I need to go make photocopies. And I mean, I did need to make photocopies. They did not have to be done right then. And I would just say, hey, I know you need to think it over. I'm going to go run some photocopies. That should give you a chance, and I'll be back in about 10 minutes. Is that good? Yep. And then they'd usually sign. Okay. We have a question. What would you do if you come back and they still want to think about it? I would ask, what would need to happen for you to be comfortable signing with me today? What would make you comfortable? The what would need to happen question is golden in sales, because you're basically saying, what do I need to do to have you move forward? But you're wording it as, what would need to happen for you to be comfortable moving forward with me today? And what I find is usually it's something very simple that we can provide, right? There's not much that they're going to want that I can't provide in the moment. Someone said, do you do that on every appointment? No. It depends on what they tell me. So if I say, all right, we're going to do 3 things, any questions? And if they're like, no, I'm good, assuming everything looks good, I'm ready to move forward, I'm not going to create an opportunity where I leave the room. It's just situational. That's why you say those 3 things, however, when you're scheduling the appointment, because you're kind of poking them to see how do they respond when I bring up this idea of signing something. I'm not calling it a contract. I'm not calling it this big scary term. It's just, hey, number 3, assuming everything looks good, we'll sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? And again, if you say that with confidence, often they don't have questions. And if they do, I'm actually wanting them to bring them up. I would rather know what questions they have before the appointment so I can practice, I can prepare, than to not know until I'm sitting in front of them or the agent is sitting in front of them. So that's the whole purpose of bringing this up when actually setting the appointment. Okay. Someone said, what about putting these things in an email when confirming the consult? So that brings me to the third thing is don't confirm, remind. So when I book a plane ticket, which I really miss doing, guys. Anybody else miss booking plane tickets out there? I am not confident that it's legit until I get a confirmation. So we're going to remove the word confirmation, because if they told you a time on the phone and you guys agreed to it, it is confirmed. So I'm not going to call them. I'm not going to email them and use the word confirm. I'm just going to say, hey, I'm reaching out to remind you of the appointment that we've already scheduled. So yeah, if you want to put those 3 things, hey, as a reminder, here's the 3 things that will happen, that's fine. Remove the word confirmation. We don't use that word anymore. It's a bad word, okay? Because then it gives the idea of, oh, I can cancel or it's not real. Perfect. Okay, the last thing we're going to do for today's webinar is the third thing to help increase your showings. And then what we're going to do is tell you where you can get more of this. So a quick preview is we have a program called Mastering Inside Sales, and we go over 19 language patterns just like this. We also go over how to track things. Today we went over goal setting, we go over mindset. So if you like this, whether you're an agent or an ISA, we have a program that is designed to help you increase conversions. And we have all kinds in there. It is called Mastering Inside Sales. Yet can we all agree if you're an agent doing lead gen, you are an inside sales agent while you're doing lead gen, right? So we have agents in the program, we have ISAs in the program, and we go over a multitude of language patterns just like this, as well as a lot of other things. So real quick, where you can go to learn more, and then I'll give you the last thing I want to share with you today, and then we'll finish up. If you go to right here, if you just type in annascoaching.com, annascoaching.com, it is a MAPS program, just to be clear, it's not Anna Kruger Coaching. But a lot of people said, I can't find your programs. Where do I go? So we just put annascoaching.com, and it brings you to this ISA MAPS coaching place. And it's got the Inside Sales program right here, Mastering Inside Sales, and it launches on October 7th. Okay, so we have a program currently running. The next one launches October 7th. If you're a leader and you want to hire an ISA, we have a program for that. I'm not really talking about that right now today, yet that's on the same website as well. So annascoaching.com is where you can go if you want to get more stuff like this, and you can see about the program. All right, the last thing that you do. So number one is talk about their motivation as the reason you're getting together. So let's meet so we can help you downsize and have money to travel versus let's meet to do paperwork. That's boring. So make it about their motivation. Number two was to give them, here's the 3 reasons we're getting together, which I just shared with you. If you missed it, go back and watch the replay. The third thing is, and this is so simple, guys, and this will help you get to an 80% show ratio. I've seen teams go from 40% of people show up to 80% of people show up within 2 weeks using what I'm about to give you. So what you're going to do, I don't care how busy or empty your schedule is, you're going to say, let me put you on hold 1 second so I can check the calendar. So let me put you on hold for just a second so I can check the calendar. Why would we put them on hold? What's the reason? Especially if you know your calendar is wide open. What's the reason to put them on hold? And yeah, you're busy. So here's the thing. If I call a chiropractor because I can't stand up straight and they're like, yeah, I got all day. When's good for you? I'm going to think, why in the world are you so available? That concerns me. Maybe I should call someone else, right? So when you say, let me put you on hold and check the calendar, that increases the urgency to meet with you. Even if you are wide open, put them on hold and check the calendar. When you come back, you're going to say, okay, it looks like I can carve out time. So that's the wording you want to use. Looks like I can carve out time at either this time or that time. Which one can you commit to? So the key phrases are, I can carve out time. That makes it sound like you're doing them a favor. And then you're going to say, which one can you commit to? Because we teach people how to treat us, right? So if I use the word commitment, it will help them treat it like a commitment. So you're going to put them on hold, and then you're going to say, okay, real quick, not real quick. You're going to say, okay, it looks like I can carve out time at this spot or this spot. Which one can you commit to? So you do those 3 things, talk about the motivation, tell them the 3 things you'll do in the appointment, and then tell them, I'm going to carve out time. Which one can you commit to? That should help you. In fact, it will help you if you do it. It will help you have more clients, more closings without less effort, because you're going to be more skilled. So one more time, because people are probably thinking, okay, I want more. Where do I go? So again, you're going to go to annascoaching.com. annascoaching.com. You can see it right here, annascoaching.com. It'll bring you here to these maps pages. The other thing you can do, if you just go to mapscoaching.com, which some of you are already familiar with, and Carlos is going to put this also in the box. I might be doing what he was going to do. Sorry, Carlos. But if you go to mapscoaching.com, you'll see Mastering Inside Sales right here, and it takes you to the same place.
Yes, I have sent the links out to both of those to all the participants.
Perfect. Oh, and we have a question. Where do I go to listen to this again? Carlos, do you know?
Yes, it will be uploaded to our MAPS Fast Track Coaching YouTube channel. It will also be sent out via email to all participants.
Perfect. So if you registered, you'll get it through email and then the YouTube page. It's great. All right, guys. Well, we're going to hop off. Now, if you're a rainmaker or maybe you want to hire an ISA, we actually have another webinar in 30 minutes to talk about that. So Carlos, is there a way that we can put a link to that in the questions box if people want to go?
Yes, let me, sorry.
I'll tell you guys where else you can go while
Oh, here
Carlos
we
is.
go.
So I have a Facebook page. A lot of you probably are already in there. I recognize a lot of you actually. If you go to Facebook and then click on ISA Masterminds group, this is a group that I run. And you can also see right here. So at 4:30 Eastern, which is in 30 minutes, we're going to do a webinar on how to lead ISAs. So if you say, I want to lead ISAs, what do I do? Go check out that webinar, and we're going to talk about that in about 30 minutes.
Just sent that registration link to all participants as well, and it's in the chat box.
Perfect. Someone said, what's an ISA? Inside sales agent. Basically, that's the person who their full-time job is to lead generate, lead convert. So they're usually on the phone within the office. Right now, they might be working from home, but their primary job is to lead generate. And so basically build the database and then convert leads. So I was an ISA. That meant 6 hours out of my 8-hour workday, I was talking with or working to convert leads. So basically, they're a full-time lead generator, lead converter. Okay, let me see any other questions. Yeah, the ISA Mastermind group, somebody just said, is that available for anyone to join? I'll go back to it real quick. Yes, and answer the questions when you go to join. I do not let people in if they don't answer the questions because I've had problems with spammers or people trying to sell things. And my goal is that it's clean and it's educational. So go to ISA Mastermind group. When you go to join it, answer the questions or I will reject you. And you can join, and that's where I announce classes coming up, what webinars we have, things like that. And then we had a question, Carlos, what's the YouTube channel?
Yes, let me pull that up. And also, I gave you guys the wrong registration for the next webinar, but I'm going to send that to you right now.
Okay, it's this one right here. If you go to the ISA Mastermind group, also it's in an announcement, effectively leading ISAs. I'll go through these questions real quick.
And I have, and here's the link to the YouTube channel.
Perfect. Someone said, I'm a rainmaker, but want to find two, I think prospecting PQ, I'm assuming you mean prospecting skill. Would you recommend it for rainmakers? Yeah, the Mastering Inside Sales course is really for anyone that wants to be better at converting leads on the phone. We talk about things too, like how do you track, how do you project, how do you do the economic model. So the goal of the class is at the end of the 6-month program, it meets 18 times, it's 3 webinars a month, and then you take a week off. So basically we meet 3 weeks, take a week off. We meet 3 weeks, we take a week off, and we do that for 6 months. The goal is by the end of that class, you know how to master your business as a lead generator. So whether you're an agent, whether you're an inside sales agent, maybe you're the rainmaker, the skills that you're learning are going to teach you how to master lead gen, how to master lead conversion. How do you track things? How do you project? How do you talk to people? How do you convert leads? How do you manage your database? So we cover 19 language patterns as well as a lot of systems and models to help you run a tight lead gen ship. Okay, you do not have to be KW. We just had that question come in. Nope. Either for the program or the Facebook page, you do not have to be a Keller Williams agent. It's run through Keller Williams, and we talk about Keller Williams, but it is not KW only. You can join no matter where you came from. That's totally fine. All right, I think we answered everything. Oh, one last question. If you registered, you will get a recording, and it's on the YouTube channel. Someone just asked that. All right, guys, I think I'll see a lot of you in about 25 minutes on the other webinar. I'm going to go try to get my voice to come back a little bit, and I'll see you in 25 minutes. Bye, everybody.